Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylee and today we are on my brand new island, BooVille. This is going to be a cozy fall citycore Halloween island. And today we're going to be going through and planning out this whole island. We're going to mood board, plan out the villagers, go through some of my inspiration, and just plan out the whole island. So let's get into it. Alright, so like I said, we will be making a mood board for this new island, and we'll be looking at our villager options, my inspiration, and some of my build ideas. And I guess we can start with going over the villagers, and as you can see, we do have two different options for our villager lineup, and they are both very different vibes. Option 1 for the villagers is definitely going to be the easier route of the two options. So this lineup is obviously made up of very fall themed villagers, but also their houses would fit the island theme as well, so we wouldn't need to complete Happy Home Paradise because we could just villager hunt and place the houses without doing any extra work. So for the first option, I went through and found villagers who themselves matched our color scheme, so they are all in the red, browns, and orange families, and then their houses are pretty much the same. I also try to get some villagers of different species and mix it up a little bit so you don't see the super common fall villagers. And then for option 2, we went completely different. So like I said, this is going to be a Halloween island, so I went for villagers that look like they're all dressed up for Halloween. So all of these look like they're already in costume and ready for trick-or-treating. The only problem with this lineup is that their houses are not very fall themed, so I would need to complete Happy Home Paradise, and honestly, I don't think I'll want to actually do that. And if you watched my videos before, you know I'm not much of an interior decorator, so HHP is basically torture for me, so I definitely don't think I want to go this route just because it's a little too much work for me. And then something else I wanted to point out is that I did make an even split between girl and boy villagers because I have a tendency to favor the boy villagers, like on my past two islands. On Rubble it was all boys, and then on my newest island, Saffron, that just came out earlier this week, we only had one girl villager on the whole island. So I made it a point to go 50-50 on boy-girls for this island. I did pick out 6 for each gender, so we'll have to get rid of 1 on both sides though. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with the fall villagers just because it will be easier for me. For the girls, I definitely want to keep Pearl, and she's actually already on my island, so that will definitely be easy for me. And I really do want to keep Poppy since she is my birthday twin, plus her house basically matches Pearl's house, so I want to put them next to each other on the island. And as for the rest of them, I do really like Victoria. She is one of my favorite villagers, and I've never had her on an island before, so I think it would be cute if she was on this island. I also like Maddie and Molly, and I like that their houses are a little bit different than the rest of the girl villagers. It's just hard because I do like all of them, but I think Victoria is just a little too yellow compared to the rest of them, and her vibe really isn't the same as the rest of the villagers either. Maybe if her face mask wasn't so yellow, I might keep her. And I do know that Molly is a little bit yellow too, but she has more brown in her face, and she just looks more like a normal villager, while Victoria fits more with the costume lineup villagers. So for the girl villagers, I think I'm going to say no to Victoria, and then we'll keep Pearl, Poppy, Hazel, Maddie, and Molly for the island. Now, as for the boys, we have Kevin, and Kevin is actually already on the island as well. He wasn't originally one of the ones that I was going to pick, but he was one of my starter villagers on this island, and I kind of fell in love with him, so I think I want to keep him. Plus, he has that green in his house like Anchovy, and I do want to incorporate some green on the island. And talking about the houses, we have 3 boy villagers with the log cabin type houses, and that's fine, but I want this island to be more townsy and less natural, so I think I want to get rid of one of the log cabin boys. And like I said, we do have 2 greens in Kevin's and Anchovy's house, so that works for me. And then Bones' house does have a little bit of blue on the door, but I actually don't mind that as much as I thought I would have. But back to the log boys, I do really like Bo and Teddy, and I haven't had them on an island before, so I do think I'm going to say no to Elmer instead, which means we are getting rid of both of the horses, which definitely wasn't intentional, but that's just how it worked out today. So let's go ahead and take them out now, and we can see the final lineup to get a good look at all 10 together. So say goodbye to the horses, and then we're just going to scooch these villagers in a little bit to see the whole picture. So I definitely do like this lineup altogether. I like that Bones has the white in him and so does Pearl. I think it would have looked a little odd if we only had one of them, but together they even out that white color. We are maybe a little heavy on the orange in this group, but altogether I think it works out pretty well. Poppy is a little bit more red than the rest of them, but I love her too much to actually care, so she's staying. Plus I want red to be on the island, so I think it will work out in the end. Yeah, so this is the final lineup for the BooVille villagers. Let me know what you think, if you agree with my decision, or if you think there were other villagers that I should have chosen instead. But either way, let me know in the comments. Alright, so let's move on to the inspiration part for this island. And I just went through Pinterest looking up things like ACNH Fall City and chose a few pictures that I thought were similar to what I had in mind for this island that we'll be creating. So I won't be recreating these builds, these are just for inspiration. I will, however, be using this road code that was created by Kuu.Crossing that you see in this picture. And this will likely be the main code that I use on this island because unlike most of my other islands where they are pretty organic and have like winding paths, I want this island to be more structured like an actual town. And a huge piece of inspiration for this island is from Horrible Gaming's Oakville Island, which are these two pictures in the top right corner. And I'll also be channeling the energy from Tropikitch's Island New Nook, which are these two pictures down here. However, on New Nook, we also have a lot of structured buildings. We also have this little villager neighborhood that I love, but for my island, I don't necessarily want these big structured buildings made out of like simple panels. I want it to be more small town focused, more on like the villager homes, and this is more similar to the Oakville style island that Horrible Gaming did. So I don't think we'll be making any large buildings on BooVille, but the vibe of the island is so nice and I want a similar feeling as New Nook, just not a similar structure, if that makes any sense at all. But I also included these few other pictures which are a little bit different in style, but like this one up here, I really like this type of centerpiece, and I'm thinking of doing something similar with a bunch of the spooky items in like a cul-de-sac. I just feel like that really screams like Halloween, almost like Halloween Town, the movie. And this one down here I think is by the same creator as the top one, and I like this one a lot too. And this bottom right one is the most different from the rest of the pictures, and I think it does have another simple panel build in the background, but I was thinking of doing a like pumpkin patch or a fall festival type build, and this is like a kind of a similar idea of what I had in mind for our build. Also, one more difference between these two, New Nook is more only horizontal and vertical roads, while Oakville has more diagonals, and I want this island to have more diagonals and like cul-de-sacs, just make it a little bit more interesting with the roads rather than only horizontal and vertical roads. But yeah, this is the general vibe that we're going for, but we can move on to some of the build ideas I have for this island. So we're not planning out layout or anything, we're just going over some of the future build ideas that I have. And number one is a small villager neighborhood. I like the idea of clustering some of the houses together, and like I said earlier, Pearl and Poppy can go next to each other because their houses would look really cute together, and some other small neighborhoods around the island as well. Number two is a fall festival, and when I was growing up we always had some fun holiday festivals around my area, so that's why I want that. And number three is a university or a school, and this is 100% because of a build that Nina Tries did on her Citycore island. She made this amazing university build, and I want to do something similar to that using all of the castle and medieval items. And I just think it would be so cute to have a school that is all decorated for Halloween, just a very festive university. And then number four on the list is a highway bridge, which is something I've always wanted to do for like a really long time. Horrible Gaming does some amazing highway builds on her islands, and I think we could definitely squeeze a highway build onto our island maybe. They do take up some space though, so we'll see. And then next is a pumpkin patch, because you can't have a full island without a pumpkin patch obviously. But I know I want a structured island, but I think it would be nice to involve a few natural spaces as well, just to break up the structure a little bit. And then we have multiple resident homes, and like the neighborhood idea, I also want to include multiple island rep houses. Right now I have myself and my husband on the island, but I definitely want to add a few more people on the island as well, and this will also give us a few more neighborhood options, so that's good. And then we have natural parks, and I said earlier I want to use Kuu.Crossing's road, but I also want to use his fall dirt paths, which we can just use to make a few natural spots. And then we have playgrounds. I feel like this is a must for like a townsy island, but they're also good gap space fillers for like those weird little areas on the map. So I definitely want to add a playground somewhere on the island. And then number 9 are townhouses, and again, Horrible Gaming. She made some townhouses on her Winter New York Island New Holly, and I actually already downloaded the codes for this build, but they are made up of castle walls, and I know I said I didn't want to have buildings with simple panels on the island, but this is going to be the one exception because I think they look so cute, and I feel like townhouses are townsy, so it works still. But yeah, these are all the ideas for builds I have on the island, so let me know if you think I should add anything else. Alright, so let's get started on the actual mood board, and this mood boarding process is 100% inspired by Sparksby over on YouTube and Twitch. I just watched her mood board stream of her citycore island, so definitely check her out, it is worth a watch. And shout out to this creator, My.animalcnh, for this picture. I'm just stealing it as our background, but this is a lovely island and I want my island to look like this, so thank you. But I don't want this picture to take away from our mood board, so I'm just going to blur it out to give the background some color and to match the vibe that we're going for. And then I want to add the name of our island here on the mood board, so first I'm going to give it a little paint swatch to go in front of, just so it stands out from the background a little bit. Just going to make it a tiny bit bigger, and then for the name, like I said earlier, the name of the island is BooVille. I thought it was a good Halloween and townsy sounding name. And then I think we'll give it a cute little font. I think this one will work. It's a little Halloween-y and fun. And then I'm just gonna make it a little bigger and make sure that it's in the center, and then we have the start of our mood board. And then next, I do want to add all of our villagers. So I'm just gonna copy and paste them and put them on this right side. And I think we're just gonna cluster them all together. I'm gonna try to stagger them a little bit so they're not in like a perfect line, and then I want to make sure I'm mixing in the girls and the boys as well, and like I said, just moving them around slightly so they're not just in a big single file line of any sort. But yeah, I'm just gonna copy and paste all of these over, mix them up a little bit, and it is okay if there is a little space in between. I was gonna say it is okay if there is a little space in between some of them, because we can go back through with some of our items that we want on our island and fill in those gaps a little bit. So if we want like a fire hydrant, we can like fit it into like a little spot so that we don't have to put them like all over the entire thing. I don't want them to take up like the whole room of the mood board, but I do want to squeeze them in. And I'm gonna make Molly a little smaller so she fits in this little gap. But I don't want them to take up the whole mood board, but I do think it's nice to include the villagers on the mood board, since I kind of did want them to fit our vibe of the island. And I'm kind of glad we went with the fall villagers, because I think they'll look nicer on the mood board than if we did the Halloween kind of costume designing ones. They would kind of stand out versus fit in, like these kind of just go with the colors rather than having like a bright blue or clown. And then that's all 10. Perfect. And then I also want to fit in some of our inspiration pictures that we went over earlier, just to give a general vibe of the island that we're going for. So I'm going to take this fall festival looking one, because we do want a fall festival on our island. And I believe this is from Horrible Gaming's island that she made. And then I'm also going to steal the picture that we used as our background, because I really do like this one. And that's generally the vibe of the island I'm going for. And then I'm just going to put them in this corner and stagger them a little bit to make it look a little cute, like a collage of photos. So I definitely think this is a good start to our mood board. And then next we'll have to find some items, and I'm going to be using Wikipedia because it's really easy to get pictures of items, and this is also where I got my villagers from. But when you copy and paste them, they have the transparent background, so that's what I'm using. And then I'm just going to start with some of our spooky items, because like I said, I want this island to look like it's getting ready for Halloween. So I'm first going to add in our spooky tower, And then we also have the spooky lantern. And I'm just gonna move these around the mood board so they're not like right next to each other because I want a little bit of variance. And like I said, I want a big centerpiece on the island, so I definitely want to use the spooky carriage. So I'm going to fit that in as well. And then next up is going to be our flowers. And the general color scheme for the island is going to be oranges, blacks, reds, maybe some yellows. So definitely the orange pansies and the black tulips. The black tulips are actually one of my favorite flowers, so I definitely want to use those. And then also going to use some of our lilies. I think I want to use a couple different of the lilies, so I'm going to add the orange ones and the black ones because I do want black flowers as well, and the lilies are super pretty. And then the last flower I'm going to add are these red mums because I do want to bring in more of that red color, so we'll add that. And then as for the trees for the island, I usually use a couple different trees, but for this island to have it more like only townsy, I'm only going to be using the hardwood and cedar trees. And I know the hardwood tree is going to show green in this picture, but I want the island to be like mid-November, so they will be a mix of like the yellow and orange trees, which I think will go with the island pretty well. And then the cedar trees, of course, will remain that nice darker green color, so we still have those like pops of green every once in a while. And then as for some of the items, I do want to use some of the castle items. Like I said earlier, I want to do the townhouses, and those use the castle and medieval walls. So we are going to add both of those in, and I'm just going to squeeze them in here. And I'm going for the red and black colors because those will go best with like the vibe and the color scheme of the island. So only going to be using these. I might also add in the gray ones for a little bit of difference when we make the townhouses, but for now I'm just going to use the red ones for our pictures. And then as for fencing, I do want to use the hedges, and again, the hedges will look green in this picture, but they will show up more like a browny green to fit in the island a little bit better. And then for that city kind of vibe, I want the iron and stone fencing because I feel like you have to have that on a city core island. It just fits so well. And then of course this is a Halloween inspired island, so I'm going to add the spooky fencing as well. I think it's funny that some people don't know that those are pumpkins, but if you look in the iron framing, they're actually little jack-o'-lanterns. Well, I guess just normal pumpkins, not jack-o'-lanterns. So those are super cute, and I'll use those on the island for sure. Next up, I'm going to add some of our furniture, primarily the ones that go outside because I don't intend on doing any like interior design for this island, but I'm going to add in this garden bench, and I went with the orange and green version. I just feel like it will go well with the color schemes with the orange obviously for fall, and then our pops of green. And then I'm also going to add in the natural garden furniture, so the square table, and then I'm also going to add in the matching chair. And again, I went with the orange kind of colored wood for this to fit our vibe of the island. And I'm going to put them together because they're so cute. And then what I think would be adorable is to add a cup of coffee. So I'm going to add the iced latte to this, and I'm just going to imagine that it's my pumpkin spice latte for fall, and I'm just going to put that on the bench to make it look super cute. And then I would definitely sit there on my island, so we'll have to include that on the island somewhere at some point. And then I also want to add some of the vehicles for our villagers to get around the island. So I'm going to start with the mini car, and I'm just going to go with the white version. I think I'll also use like the black and the red around the island, but for now I'm just going to use the white to tie in a little bit of the white colors from our villagers. And then I also want to include some of the scooters. So for this one, I just went with the red one, and we'll add that in here as well. And I know I don't have any like stores on the island, but I still also want to add in one of the trucks. And I just went for the gray plain version in this one. I'm not sure if we'll actually use any trucks because, like I said, we don't have any like stores on the island. I might use them around like Nook's Cranny or the Able sisters. It might tie in well a little bit there. And then I also want to add in some other like city elements. So I'm going to start with the street lamps, and I'm going with the plain street lamp at first. And I'm going to go with the black version. I think I want to keep all of the metal as black because it goes well with like the fencing being black from the spooky fence as well as the iron and stone fence. And then I also really love the curved street lamp, so I'll definitely be using that around the island as well. I'll probably interchange between the normal street lamp and the curved one. I just think the curved one is super cute and is a little different. And then I'm also going to add in the fire hydrant, and I just went with the black one here. We might use the red one as well to include those pops of red, but for now I'm just going to stick with the black version. And then I want to go ahead and add some details. So I'm going to start with this paper bundle, and I went with like the one that kind of looks like recycled paper, so I'm just going to squeeze that in as well. And these are just going to be like little decorations to like fill in some empty spots around the island. Another cute item I think is the decoy duck, and there are a few different versions of the decoy duck, but I went with this one because I felt like it matched our color scheme. And then of course we need some piles of leaves because every island needs piles of leaves, honestly. And then I went for the red one as well as the brown one. It took me a while to find it because it's not called brown pile of leaves, it's just called pile of leaves, but I found it eventually. And then another item that I'm thinking about adding to the island is a storefront, especially in the pumpkin patch, maybe having like a little barn area for the pumpkin patch. So I went ahead and added the storefront as well, and I just kept it with the brown version. And then one other spooky item that I wanted to add is this spooky tree, maybe thinking about pairing it with the spooky carriage. And then just for a little extra sparkle, I'm gonna add in these cute little ghosts on the side next to our big island name, and I think they're just super cute, and we're gonna add that in there. And then I think we're pretty much done with the whole mood board. I think this is a really good idea of where I want my island to go. We have our inspiration pictures, all 10 of our villagers, and then a bunch of the items that I think we'll use around the island. So this is our completed mood board, and then earlier in the video we went through all of our villagers, the inspiration for the island, and then all of our build ideas. So we're basically ready to start designing the island now. So the next video that comes out will be the entrance video, and I am super excited for that. But let me know in the comments if you feel like you'll make your own mood board. I think it's super fun and gives me a good idea of where I want our island to go, and just makes me super excited to create the whole island. But that is the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. Before you leave, make sure to give the video a like, comment, and to subscribe to the channel. If you watched to the end of the video, let me know who your favorite villager I picked out was, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, friends!